All right, so we'll pick up here with part four, and we'll talk about some accessory structures and accessory organs that we associate with our integumentary system. And so, perhaps the most obvious one that we all can think of and appreciate is our hair. So, we have hair generally all throughout our body, and we'll name the different parts of hair based on where it's located and what's going on there. And so, the hair shaft is the portion that you can see. And so, if we think of our arm as an example, when we look at our arm, that portion of hair that we see is the hair shaft. Our hair root is that which penetrates the skin, is within our hair follicle. The hair follicle is this invagination of our epidermis that we'll take a look at. We have a hair bulb, which is at the base of the dermis, and it contains the hair matrix, which is where we have lots of cells beginning to divide and produce new hair growth. And then we have one muscle, which is a smooth muscle called the erector pili muscle. And this is what is responsible for the goosebumps, sometimes called goose flesh. Whenever you have innervation, when you have sympathetic innervation to your um, erector pili muscle, it will contract. It will pull um, on your hair follicle, and when that does, it will pull and raise this little ridge that we recognize in our skin as goosebumps. And so, if we look at a picture here, you can see a hair shaft on the outside that you can see. You can see this long hair root contained within our hair follicle. You can see the follicle itself. And if you think about what the hair follicle is, we said it's just an invagination of the epidermis. And so if you follow, this is still part of the epidermis here, if you follow it, it just kind of begins to fold down. And you can see it coming down right here, and you can see it on this side right here, coming all the way down. This kind of in the bulbous region of the hair is called the hair bulb, and within the bulb you have the hair matrix, which is lots of mitotically active cells that are constantly reproducing and dividing and pushing upward to contribute to new hair growth. Okay. Here's our erector pili muscle. So you can imagine with this muscle, as it contracts, it would pull up. When it pulls up, it would pull this follicle up and create a little ridge that you recognize on the outside of your skin. From an external view, that is the goosebump that you'd be able to recognize there. Now, not shown here, you can see a nerve here running down, but around this hair follicle, you have a large network of nerves called the hair root plexus. And what this hair root plexus is a network of nerves that allows for the detection of the movement of hair. And so if you look at your arm, and if you do this, if you run your finger over your hair on your arm without touching your skin, just the hair itself, you feel the hair moving. You're able to sense that. And the reason is that as you move your hair, you're moving the hair shaft, which is moving the root, that's moving the follicle, and that's being detected by this hair root plexus that surrounds your hair follicle. And so that's just um, a little trivia for you there. But again, it would be wrapped around this hair follicle, but it's not really depicted in this image. Our next accessory organ is going to be our sebaceous gland, our oil glands. Now they secrete sebum, hence their name sebaceous. They will secrete this either into the hair follicle or onto our skin directly. Sebum has some protective and some beneficial qualities to it. It inhibits bacterial growth, lubricates and waterproofs our skin and hair. We don't find any on our palms and our soles, so palms of our hands, soles of our feet, just on the other regions of our skin. And then this is what is responsible for producing different types of acne, so whitehead, blackheads, and general acne. Whenever a pore is clogged with oil, it will produce either a whitehead if it has not come into contact with air. If it comes in contact with the air and oxygen and it oxidizes, it will turn black, and then you term it a blackhead. And then just general acne is just kind of another term for our general appearance of clogged and blocked pores with oil and other types of debris, so things like dirt and sand, things like that. Here you can see our sebaceous gland. It's going to be associated closely with our hair follicle, secretes sebum in and then up and out onto the surface of our skin here. Our nails are going to be our next accessory organ of our integumentary system. They contain keratinized epithelial cells. The white portion of your nails that you can see near the base, that is termed the lunula. Lunula comes from the term or the word moon. It kind of looks like a half moon if you look at it. And then the nail root is going to be um, at this general region as well that is containing our mitotically active cells that are actively dividing, pushing out, and contributing to new nail growth. And so you can see that here. Here's your lunula here. Your nail matrix is going to be down here with your nail root that is producing cells and pushing them out. And so you can see it way back here in this lateral view. You would have the nail matrix here producing out new cells to the root of the nail, and then pushing out even further to contribute to this new nail growth. So our last one, that I believe this is our last one that we'll talk about for accessory organs, is our sudoriferous glands, also known as sweat glands. Now we can divide sweat glands into a couple of different categories based on where they're located and how they secrete their products, as well as what they assist with. So what's the function of these particular sweat glands? So we have eccrine and apocrine. Our eccrine sweat glands are going to be really all throughout our body on the surface of our skin, and these are responsible for thermal regulation. And so we talked about earlier, a function of the skin is regulating body temperature. And so as sweat is produced and secreted onto the surface of our skin, some of it will evaporate, taking with it heat, and we term that process evaporative cooling. And so eccrine sweat glands, really a lot of our, all throughout our body, most skin surfaces, secreted onto the surface, and then as it is whisked away via evaporation, it takes the heat with it, and we term that evaporative cooling. Now our apocrine sweat glands do things a little bit different. Now, and again, I'm sorry, I don't know if I said it. This eccrine sweat gland is secreting the sweat directly onto the surface of the skin. Our apocrine sweat glands are going to be in very specific regions, so things like our pubic region, our armpits, our axillary region, and they will secrete their products into the hair follicle in response to some type of stressful situation or sexual excitement. So sometimes these are called emotional sweat glands here. These typically have the products, the sweat harbors or results in a nice environment that can harbor bacteria and result in a more pungent odor, if you will. And so these can result in the more smelly, more odorous sweat that you generally think of. And then we have two types of apocrine sweat glands. We have the ceruminous and mammary. Ceruminous are referring to the ceruminous glands that produce earwax in the ear, and then mammary glands that produce milk in the breast tissue of females after giving birth. And so we'll take a look at these here. So here's an eccrine sweat gland secreting its products directly onto the surface of the skin. And then here we see an apocrine that is secreting its products into the hair follicle, and then from the follicle up onto the surface of the skin. And so I would be familiar with how these products are secreted, either directly or indirectly into the hair follicle, what they secrete it in response to, so eccrine for thermal regulation and apocrine for stress and sexual excitement, so emotional sweat glands, and then where you can find them. So eccrine sweat glands really found all throughout the body, apocrine primarily in the genital and pubic region, as well as the axillary regions as well. So here is a picture of one type of apocrine, so a ceruminous gland. It's not really showing the gland, but it's showing where it would be producing earwax in here. And then you can see mammary glands over here as well. Now, this is where I generally say you should never put anything in your ear smaller than your elbow. And I know that sounds dumb, but it actually makes sense. Don't put anything in your ear smaller than your elbow. Whenever you put Q-tips or you put other types of small devices into your ear to hopefully clean out your ear, clean out the cerumen and the earwax within your external acoustic meatus here, what you oftentimes do is end up pushing it further in, you end up creating this large plug of cerumen, and that can impede your hearing. You can also possibly puncture and disrupt the integrity of your tympanic membrane, so your eardrum, and that is a more serious problem. So, in general, nothing in your ear is smaller than your elbow. All right, we'll stop there and we'll pick up with the next part talking about skin disorders.